Beneath your spine, beyond bone and blood, there is a gate. Ancient mystics called it the Dragon Gate, for within its leaps a force coiled like a serpent, silent like breath. This is not a metaphor. It is real. It is the dormant fire at the base of your spine, the place your ancestors once whispered about in temples of breath and flame. They believed that one breath, a sacred breath, could awaken the dragon within. This breath does not belong to yoga studios or trend videos. It belongs to you. It belongs to the part of you that was never tamed, never silenced, only forgotten. And when this breath rises from the sacrum, it does not just move air. It moves memory. It ignites the ancient fire of Kundalini. So what is this breath, and why was it hidden? This is the beginning of the dragon's path, and it starts with your breath. They called it the sacrum, the sacred bone. But why would ancient healers, mystics, and anatomists all agree that this one bone hidden at the base of the spine held such profound power? Because this is not just a piece of anatomy. It is a threshold, a gate, a resting place for something that has no name, and yet every soul remembers. In ancient Sanskrit texts, they spoke of Kundalini Shakti, the divine feminine energy, coiled like a serpent at the base of the spine, wrapped 3.5 times around the sacrum. But in other cultures she took the form of a dragon. In Taoist alchemy, they called it the inner dragon. In Egypt it was the Sacrum, fire rising through the Djed pillar. In the Gnostic scrolls, it was the luminous serpent of the Holy Spirit. All different names. One same truth: there is a power that sleeps in your sacrum, and it waits for a breath that knows how to call it. But what is this bone really? The sacrum sits at the base of the spinal column, forming the back wall of the pelvis. It connects the spine to the hips, the center of gravity, grounding, and primal life force. But more than that, it's the foundation of your entire energetic architecture. It is where root meets spine, earth meets spirit, matter meets fire. The ancients believed this was where the journey began, not just the journey of life, but the journey of awakening. You see, every breath you take activates your nervous system, but most breaths stay in the chest, shallow and scattered. The dragon breath, the one you're about to learn, goes deeper. It descends into the sacrum. It stirs the coiled force, and once stirred, the dragon begins to rise. This is why your sacrum matters. It is not a bone to be ignored. It is the cradle of awakening, the lock beneath the spine, the base of the temple. And when breath reaches this sacred gate, the temple begins to open. In the next part, we step into the ancient traditions that guarded this breath and what happens when fire meets stillness. In ancient temples, breath was not just a function of survival. It was a sacred science, a ritual, a way to shape reality from within. The breath was considered a fire, and when directed downward, into the belly, into the sacrum, it became the match that ignited the inner dragon. In India, yoga spoke of Bha-Strika, the breath of bellows, a rapid, forceful inhalation and exhalation meant to fan the flames of prana deep within the body. This was no casual technique. It was practiced in caves and silence after years of preparation. The breath was said to descend into the pelvic bowl and there spark the sleeping Shakti. In Taoist internal alchemy, the dragon breath took another form, Tai Chi, or embryonic breathing. Here, the breath is not forced. It is gathered, coaxed inward. The practitioner draws the breath not through the mouth, but through intention down to the lower dantian, just below the navel, close to the sacrum. They believed that the womb of breath, when still and warm, would awaken the coiled dragon, initiating the microscopic orbit of energy up the spine. In the temples of ancient Egypt, breath was used to stir the Sacrum, a life force described as electric, solar, divine. High initiates would stand with aligned spine, breathe in through the nose, hold, and guide the inner flame through the Ed pillar, the symbolic spine of Osiris. They called this the resurrection breath, not of the body, but of the soul. Even in Christian mysticism, breath was used in silence. The Jesus prayer, "Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me," was synchronized with breath to still the mind and purify the heart, allowing the holy fire to rise gently through the spine. The Gnostics believed that through breath, one could remember the language of light, a vibration that the serpent responds to. Different names, different rituals. But one truth: breath is not just air, it is command, it is intention, it is fire. And when directed to the sacrum, it wakes what has long been forgotten. In the next part, we enter the temple within, and we learn how to perform the dragon breath not as a technique, but as a sacred act. So how does breath awaken the dragon? It begins not with force, but with presence. When you breathe with sacred intention, something shifts. The breath no longer ends in the chest. It travels downward, guided by awareness to the deepest part of the body, the sacrum, the base, the gate. There, something begins to stir. The ancients said Kundalini is like a coiled serpent, but in truth, she is a frequency, a latent current held in tension at the root of the spine, silent, undisturbed, until breath touches her skin. As you inhale deeply into the pelvic bowl, your diaphragm expands downward. Pressure builds at the base, muscles engage, pelvic floor contracts. This combination of breath and root tension, known in yoga as mula bandha, creates a surge, a microcharge along the spinal column. Modern science might call it a vagal activation or sympathetic shift, but mystics called it ignition. In this moment, something ancient remembers how to rise. You may feel warmth pooling at the sacrum, a subtle vibration, a tingling along the spine, or nothing at all at first. But as the breath continues slow, deep, rhythmic, the inner fire gathers. Breath by breath, the dragon awakens. She does not leap, she spirals. This energy moves not in a straight line, but like a serpent weaving through gates. Each inhale sends a pulse upward, each exhale anchors the current. The spine becomes a staff of light. The Ed, the tree of life, the ladder between earth and stars. Some describe a pulsing at the tailbone. Others feel an invisible heat rising through the back. A few hear tones, inner hums, like the low growl of a sleeping beast. Do not fear this. The breath is not forcing the rise, it is inviting it. You are not awakening Kundalini. You are allowing her to awaken through you. And when the breath is steady, when your intention is clear, and the body becomes still as a temple, she climbs. This is not imagination. It is an energetic ascent, a spiritual activation with physical roots. It is what the sages meant when they said, "He who breathes with awareness speaks the language of the gods." In the next part, we enter the breath itself, not just its theory, but its practice. The dragon breath, step by sacred step. Before you begin this breath, remember, this is not a performance. This is not a technique. This is a ritual. Set the space. Dim the lights. Light a candle if you wish, or simply close your eyes and imagine one. Sit comfortably but upright. Let your spine become a staff, and your sacrum the altar. Now place your awareness just above the base of your spine, where the sacrum rests like a shield. This is the gate of the dragon. We begin. Phase 1, the awakening breath. Inhale deeply through the nose. Let the breath expand the belly, the ribs, and even into the lower back. Now exhale fully slowly. Empty everything. Repeat this. 3 slow, conscious breaths, nothing more. This tells the body we are here. We are ready. Phase 2. The fire bellows. Now we ignite. This is the breath of fire known as Bha strict in yogic texts. Begin short, powerful inhales and exhales through the nose. Equal in length. Sharp but controlled. As you do this, engage your lower belly, pumping it in and out rhythmically. Do 30 breaths. Then pause. Now inhale deeply. Hold. Engage your pelvic floor, as if gently lifting from within. This is Mula Bandha, the root lock. Hold for a count of 5 and exhale softly. This cycle is 1 round. Repeat this for 2 or 3 rounds, depending on your capacity. Go slowly. Rest between rounds. Let each round feel like a whisper into the dragon's ear. Phase 3, the spiral lift. After your final round, inhale gently. Hold the breath. Visualize the energy at your sacrum swirling like golden smoke. With awareness, not tension, guided upward through the spine. Imagine it rising in a spiral, from the base, to the navel, to the heart, to the throat, to the space between the eyebrows. And pause. Exhale through the mouth. Slow, steady, sacred. Repeat this lift 2 more times, with full awareness. Phase for the integration. Now stop breathing with effort. Let the breath return to stillness. Place 1 hand over your lower belly. Feel the pulse, the warmth, the presence. Something ancient has stirred. Even if subtle, even if silent, the gate has opened even just a little. End this practice with gratitude, not to the breath, but to the part of you that chose to remember. You may feel energized, emotional, clear, or you may feel nothing at all. It doesn't matter. What matters is this: the dragon has heard you. In the next part, we follow her path, as breath becomes fire, and fire becomes light, rising toward the sacred crown. At first it feels like nothing. You finish your breath work, use it still, and then something shifts. There is a subtle pressure at the base of your skull, a flicker behind the eyes, a warmth rising, not like heat but like presence. This is the moment the dragon reaches the throne, for the spine is not just bone. It is a ladder, a path of ascent. And at the top, nested deep within the brain, rests the pineal gland. Science calls it the third eye. Mystics call it the gate. But the ancients, they called it the light receiver. When Kundalini, awakened through breath, climbs to this point, something extraordinary happens. The ascending current of Shakti meets the descending silence of Shiva. The inner fire meets the cosmic light. And at that junction, the pineal begins to vibrate. It may feel like a hum, a pulse, a shimmering wave behind the forehead. You may see light not with your eyes, but with something deeper. You may hear tones, not sound but resonance. This is not fantasy. It is bioelectric reality. The pineal gland is light sensitive, but also light emissive. It contains crystalline structures capable of transduction. When activated, it becomes like a lantern. glowing from within the cave of the skull. The Gnostics called this moment the inner anointing. The Yogists called it Amrita, the nectar of immortality. The Hermetics called it chrism, a sacred fluid released during illumination. Some say it forms every 33 days. Others say it only flows when the body becomes still as a temple and the breath becomes flame. But all agree when breath reaches the brain, when dragon meets crown, you remember. You remember how to see without eyes, how to know without words, how to feel the cosmos from the inside out. And yet this is only the beginning, because once the pineal is lit, a doorway appears, and through that doorway lie realms more vivid than dream, more real than reality. In the next part, we step through into visions, lucid states, and the subtle worlds where breath becomes light and light becomes self. When the breath ignites the pineal, the world begins to bend. Not the outer world, but the inner one, the one that was always there behind the noise, behind the self. You'll begin to dream. While awake, symbols appear. Lights swirl behind closed eyes. And then, the doorway opens. Not a door of wood, not one you can see or touch, but you feel it, as clearly as breath. A subtle opening, as if the boundaries between realms have thinned. In sleep, your dreams change. They become vivid, lucid. You realize, mid-minus dream, that you are dreaming. And in that realization the rules dissolve. You fly. You shape the world with thought. You'll meet guides, ancestors, archetypes. This is lucid dreaming, but it's more than that. It's dimensional travel. A journey through the astral plane, the energetic layer between worlds. But the door to Ascent only open in dreams. Sometimes, in meditation or between wake and sleep, you may feel a soft pull, and suddenly, you are above your body, looking down at yourself as if waking from the physical form. This is astral projection recorded in Egyptian scrolls, Tibetan dream yoga, and thousands of near-death accounts. It is not imagination. It is the soul remembering how to walk without feet. And then, there is the final threshold, ego death. It doesn't feel like fear. It feels like dissolving. The name, the story, the personality gone. Only awareness remains. Silent, infinite, free. The mystics called it samadhi. The Sophists called it fana. The Gnostics called it gnosis. And today, science still has no words for it. But one thing is clear. All these states, lucid dreaming, astral travel, ego dissolution, are connected by one central current. The breath, the pineal, the dragon that rose from the sacrum. When you awaken this path, you do not just breathe differently. You perceive differently. You become something new or something ancient. But why was this path hidden for so long? Why do so few know that a single breath could open entire dimensions? If breath can awaken inner fire, if the dragon can rise from your sacrum and open gates beyond this world, then why do so few know? Why are you never taught? That breath can change your brain? That your spine is a living ladder? That your body is a temple built for awakening? The answer is simple and ancient. Because a sovereign human, one who breathes with power, sees with inner light, and remembers their divine nature, cannot be controlled. Empires feared this. Religions buried it. Systems of power rewrote the maps, turning dragons into demons, turning breath into biology, turning sacred oil into superstition. They knew. If the masses remembered that awakening was internal, they would stop looking outward. They would stop obeying fear. They would stop worshiping empty thrones. So they erased the breath. They replaced sacred pranayama with shallow respiration. They mocked the pineal as fantasy. They demonized the serpent, once a symbol of divine energy, turning it into the mark of evil. And they made sure that the sacrum, the sacred bone, was forgotten. Just another structure in anatomy charts. No longer a gate, no longer a throne, but the truth remained, buried in temples, hidden in symbols, guarded by mystics. In Egypt, the breath of Sekhem was passed in silence. In India, the dragon fire was only taught after purification. In Taoist caves, the embryonic breath was kept secret, lest it be misused. In early Christianity, the chrism, the sacred secretion of the pineal, was veiled in parables and rituals until it too was banned. Why such fear? Because breath is the back door to freedom. Because you can't imprison someone who knows how to leave their body. You can't shame someone who has seen their ego dissolve in light. You can't manipulate someone whose inner dragon has awakened. But that silence is ending. The breath is returning. The codes are reactivating, not because systems allow it, but because souls are ready. And if you're hearing this now, your soul may be one of them. But there is one final truth to face. This path is sacred, but not without danger. What happens if the dragon is awakened before the vessel is ready? In the next part, we speak honestly about risk, about reverence, and about what it really means to prepare for the breath that awakens the fire. The dragon is not dangerous, but calling it too soon without preparation can be. Kundalini is not a trend, not a shortcut, not a spark for thrill seekers. It is sacred fire. And sacred fire must be approached with devotion, not desire. So how do you prepare? First, the body. Cleanse not to punish, but to purify. Eat foods that are alive. Drink water that remembers the sky. Rest in rhythm with the sun. Move your body with reverence, not for shape, but for flow. Because when the dragon rises, it will move through your tissues, your spine, your cells. You must become a vessel clear, grounded, spacious. Then the breath. Before you ignite the inner fire, learn to soften. Practice Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing to balance the channels. Use Bhr Amari, the humming breath, to awaken the skull without force. Use Kamaka, breath retention only when the mind is still. Breath is not just oxygen, it is memory. And when guided with grace, it becomes prayer. Next, the mind. You do not need to silence it. You need to befriend it. Meditate not to escape thought, but to witness it. Let thoughts arise and pass like clouds in a sacred sky. And finally, the heart. The dragon does not rise for ego. It rises for truth. And truth lives in the heart. Ask yourself, why do I seek this path? To awaken power or to remember who I truly am? Let love, not ambition, guide the fire. And if visions come, do not chase them. If heat arises, do not panic. If silence descends, do not fill it. Just breathe, just listen, just open, like the temple you are. Because when you are ready, truly ready, the dragon will rise, not as a storm, but as a silent flame. In the final part, we return to where it all began, to the breath, to the sacrum, to the memory that was never lost, only sleeping. This breath was never lost, only forgotten, hidden beneath the noise of the world, buried under the weight of modern life. But now something stirs. You felt it. Maybe as warmth, maybe as memory, maybe as the quiet knowing that something ancient just opened its eyes. This dragon breath did not give you something new. It helped you remember what was always yours. Your sacrum is not just a bone, it is the root of your temple. Your spine is not just a structure, it is the ladder between realms. And your breath is not just survival, it is a prayer. You are not the seeker. You are the flame that calls the seeker home. So walk slowly, breathe deeply, and carry this fire with reverence. Because one day, when the world grows too loud, when the illusion feels too real, you will remember this breath. And in that breath, you will find your center again. If this journey touched something within you, share your reflection below. Your story may be the light that awakens someone else. And if you feel called, subscribe to join us. This is only the beginning. Until then, breathe with presence, walk with reverence, and trust the fire that rises from your root.